Once I left my gossip blog, I didn't really know who I was.
You were bitchy.
You was the only one that called me bitchy.
I was not.
Once known as Necole Bitchie, celebrity gossip queen Necole Kane transformed her career and now empowers women through her brand, My Happy Flo.
Such a toxic way to literally wake up scared every single morning,
Absolutely.
like to see whether I was on your website.
I might have written something about you, maybe
Yeah,
maybe not. I felt like you were always side-eyeing, like, what y'all got her around for? For people who don't know, Lord, here we go.
I met some real nasty law enforcement in Arizona. They're like, your green card, please. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Really?
Did you ever have anybody in our inner circles sell you a story? I'm so excited for you guys to get to know me a little bit more and get to learn some more things about some of my favorite people in my life, industry insiders, because there is always more to the story. I'm Rocsi Diaz, and welcome to More to the Story. She's worn so many different hats in the industry. She's a boss in her own right. And I mean, the positive light that she oozes is why I love calling her a dear friend of mine. She's picked me up off the floor when I've had tough times. And I paid her back by having a con artist infiltrate our group. Yep, that happened. If you stay to the very end, you'll hear a little bit about that story. But right now, it is my pleasure to welcome none other than Miss Necole Kane. Thank you so much for being here. It's so weird to introduce you like that because it's been too long and I'm guilty of keeping up with you on social media.
Thinking and feeling like we still connected.
Yeah, but this is real to be able to see your face. So thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
I don't think people even realize how, because there's a generation of people out there right now that don't even know who Necole Bitchie was. And it feels like such a long time ago in your life. But boy, Necole, I tell you, we could use Necole Bitchie right now.
We sure could.
Because the industry is in shambles. And at that point of your life, you had a huge gossip site, NecoleBitchie.com. Your sources, I don't know where they came from. You guys were always on top of your stories. When you see the stories that are coming out in headlines right now, does it ever give you an inkling or a feeling like, man, I could be killing it right now in the gossip space?
Never.
Really?
Never. I normally think, whoo, I'm glad I ain't a gossip blogger anymore, or I'm glad I don't have to report on that, because it's so much. Mm-hmm. Because you can't just report the story. I feel like I developed a reputation of like giving you the full story. So we had to dig to make sure we had all the facts, had an angle that nobody else had. Like, so it was a lot. Mm-hmm. And it was taxing on my probably mental health too. Mm-hmm. So
when you had to transition your identity from the gossip site to Nicole XO, which launched you into a whole nother career, because I remember when you were going through that change, mm-hmm. and you were scared. But you were so certain and sure that this was the route that you wanted to go with Nicole XO. No matter who told you, oh, women's mental health magazines, it's not going to sell, it's not going to do good. When people have naysayers like that aren't believing in their dream, what do you tell them?
Oh man, I think, well, I had a different situation because I think I was living between LA and New York for like so many years. And when I knew I wanted to make a life transition, I knew I had to move away from everyone that had this certain idea of me. Like I was in a box, it felt like. So I moved to Arizona so I could isolate myself and go through that.
Boy, did you isolate yourself.
I did. Hey, but guess who came out to Arizona? Rocsi
I did.
Diaz.
I sure did, because I needed isolation at that time too.
Exactly. And we was in Antelope Canyon.
Yes, we were. On some Eat, Love, Pray.
Yes, we were. So that's how I knew who was serious about their transformation and transition by who came out to Arizona. So
yeah.
So that
I got pulled over in Arizona too.
You probably did.
I met some real nasty law enforcement in Arizona.
And they're like, girl, what you doing out here with this car?
Because ain't no Spanish girl supposed to be driving no damn G-Wagon in Arizona. They're like, first up, they don't even ask for your license and registrations. They're like, your green card, please. I'm like, whoa.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it was, I got PTSD from getting pulled over in Arizona.
Oh, yeah. It could go real bad, real quick. But yeah, I went out there just so that I could isolate myself. Because I think once I left my gossip blog, I didn't really know who I was. Like I was so in the deep of other people's lives and businesses, like living my life as a spectator, that when I went out there, I was just like, I don't even know who Necole is. I don't know what she likes, who she is when she doesn't have this big name attached to it, when people are not checking for her or her site. Like,
I mean, because you were not only, I mean, you had other writers underneath you, but you were a personality at the same time.
I mean, I was Necole Bitchie.
Yes,
like,
you were Bitchie.
The site was named after me.
Yes.
Yeah.
It took so long for me to get accustomed to not calling you Bitchie. Like that was like one of the hardest transitions. Probably for anybody that knew you back then. And I even still to this day slip up and be like, oh, Necole. I got it.
You was the only one that called me Bitchie though.
I was not.
Yes, you
was. Called you Bitchie too.
I feel like most of my friends call me Nick.
Yeah, okay, well then I'm sorry.
Anybody watching when Rocsi first met me, I was kind of ended up hanging out with her group of friends in Miami.
I always remember you in DC for some reason.
I was in Miami, but I felt like you were always side-eyeing, like, what y'all got her around for? So it took quite some time for you to like warm up to me. And
because do you understand at that point in time in my life?
Oh yeah, you had a lot going on.
It was first, I'm on 106.
Yeah.
And every morning I had to wake up to see whether I was on Media Takeout, your website, or Bossip, or the YBF. It was like every single day, clockwork. When you think about it, it was such a toxic way to literally wake up scared every single morning.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't want to be on a headline. I didn't do anything. I know I didn't do anything. So yeah, I would look at you side eye. I was like, she's the op. Why is she here? Like,
and then think about how odd it was for people. Like, I'm trying to figure. I might have written something about you, maybe not. So how odd is it to meet someone that you've written about and then befriend them? Like that's probably happened with me and Lala, like Kim Kardashian, whatever. So yeah, it was odd. It was definitely.
Yeah, because you were like I said, you were the personality. You were kicking it. It became to a point where, Nick, you were part of the circle at the same time.
Sure.
So it was like expected for you to be there, because then you got to know who those people were outside of the headlines. But then you started getting other writers writing for you, and you wasn't clearing the stories that was going on the website. And it's like, yo, what is happening? So I need to know, for me personally, did you ever have anybody in our inner circles sell you a story?
No, I had this rule. If I saw anything like or heard something with my own like ears or saw it with my eyes, it never went on the website. Like most of the stuff that was on the website was either already in the news and someone in the industry hit me first to let me break it. And just randomly, one time that comes to mind is when Floyd and T.I. was tussling. And,
oh my gosh.
And that day I was like, I'm going on a staycation. I went to the Intercontinental Hotel in LA, and I'm just chilling, spotted, all that. And then I get like a call, FaceTime, 3 a.m. in the morning. Like, hey, Floyd want to talk to you. I was like, this is not no 24-hour tip line. And then there was like this big thing happened in Vegas. I'm like, all right. Can I pull out a recorder? Because nobody gonna believe this unless I record you actually telling it. And I was able to get it up the next day before TMZ, everybody. Like, I was the only one that had the exclusive. But I was just like, this is draining and toxic. I gotta wake up out of bed to talk about some tussle that I wasn't even there for. And I felt like I was living my life like I always had to look over my shoulder. Again, to your point, I hated walking in a room and the room shifting as soon as I walk in. And y'all thought I wasn't looking at nobody, but they thought I was looking at them, but they looking at me.
I think it's different for the culture, because we feel like we have ownership to certain things and certain identities. I love how the shade room is now embraced, because that was not the case for gossip sites back in the day. And I know exactly how you feel at that moment, because that's how I felt when I started Entertainment Tonight. Because then all of a sudden, I'm like, y'all was cool at 106, but now on ET, I ain't cool no more. I'm out. Like,
Yeah.
everybody's watching how they act around me. Like, I'm gonna go and tell the business or give it.
And have an exclusive on ET.
I was like, I would never do that though. Like, and it sucks.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, most of the stuff that goes on these gossip blogs are things that people want out there. Mm-hmm. Like, somebody wanted it out there. They wanted the publicity. They wanted the press. So it's not like, well, I mean, there probably are IG blogs that's running around making up stories, but that wasn't me at all. So
how did you go from Xonecole, which has become one of my favorite sites, and especially one of my favorite IG blogs to follow too, because the headlines are still grabbing the topics that you guys choose, but you chose to sell to Will Packer's company and then go to Happy Flo. Like, how did that all transition, that the health world completely took over your life? Was it after you started doing competition modeling?
Yeah, well, that was a lead into it because I got into supplements and vitamins when I was competing as a bodybuilder.
That was crazy when you started doing that too. I mean, you always had the body.
No, actually, I didn't.
You were slim.
Yeah.
But the muscle.
And I only say that because I feel like blogs used to like say I was built like a boy. You know, they were mean back then, but
No.
Yeah. But you know what? Hey, but I built that body up, okay? But what was I gonna say? What's so crazy? First of all, I started Necole Bitchie, I think it's been 15 or 16 years now. Next year will be 10 years since I left Necole Bitchie in July. So the way time goes by, like even just us two sitting here and still having some type of relevance to us is just, I feel amazing. But I sold Xonecole 2 years after I started it, which was in 2017. I stayed on still as the founder and running it for 5 years after I sold it. And that's normally not the case when people start their businesses. If they have it in the contract to stay on board just so that the business transitions, it's only for like a year or two. So me being there for 5 years is unheard of, but I didn't know what I was gonna do next. I didn't sell my company for enough where I could be out on a private island for the rest of my life, you know? I'm on a panel tomorrow with 2 founders that sold for over $100 million. Like, that wasn't my case.
Yeah.
And so it felt like I just was working for my company that I started, feeling like I didn't have the freedom I had when I used to run my own company, but I didn't know what I was going to do next and what life looked like. I wasn't prepared for what life looked like getting a steady paycheck every 2 weeks, to be honest. Like, and when I stopped doing brand work and had started focusing solely on growing Xonecole, I was like, I'm gonna have to downsize my lifestyle.
I remember that.
Like,
yeah, you was moving from. I'm like, where you at this time, Necole? Like, wait, now I'm in DC.
I was
I'm
like,
in New
wait
York.
a minute. Once the IRS take their cut and all this other stuff, I'm getting paid pennies for these 40 hours, or at least it feels like it when you make so much just for posting one time in an outfit, right? So that transition of being a real businesswoman when I was so used to just making money so fast and so easy was really rough for me. But I know I didn't answer your question because now I'm starting to reflect on that time in my life.
No, because I think people need to hear that although you have a great idea, but seeing that vision through and stepping away from something that you created, that's hard.
And just to think like, you know, I think back when I was a blogger, we were the influencers, right? If you think about it, we were the content creators that are now online now. And I wish I think I heard Felicia say this on your podcast, but I just wish back then I had a sense of what running a business entailed and having an exit strategy. Like, what am I working towards? And stuff like retirement, because we don't want to be hustling when we're 65 just because we didn't really.
And the industry don't have a retirement plan.
At all.
Yeah. Ain't no 401k
There's
here.
no pensions or anything like that. But I think sometimes we start something, all this money starts rolling in from everywhere. and we're not looking at the long game of what does this look like 10 years from now or 15 years from now. And so I am glad that people saw my transitions very publicly, even the ones where I was crying and people had Necole Bitchie from Boss to Broke as headlines, because I feel like people needed to see a real example of someone that started, you know, as a celebrity blogger, influencer, whatever you wanted to call me, and then saw me transition into actually running businesses that, you know, could become legacy brands. They could become $100 million brands one day.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, but how did you said it started with when you were training and you were getting into supplements.
Yep.
That you went into specifically for Happy Flo.
Yeah. So, with My Happy Flo, I'm obsessed with vitamins. You got, if your neck is, you got a pain in your neck or anything going on with your body, I know a remedy for it.
Okay.
And that came about because I don't know if you ever, do you even know my story about my background, losing my parents, all those things? Oh, some people don't.
Yeah. But we can touch on it. So those that don't know,
absolutely.
I know.
So for those who don't know, like I lost both my parents. They were, Lord, here we go. So I need a little challenge. Can Necole do a podcast
without crying?
Without crying. The producer of this podcast then see me on 3 podcasts.
But I think it keeps you real. And I mean, you're talking about your parents, so that's
for sure. But for people who don't know, I lost my parents. They were 41 and 42 when they both passed away. I have no living grandparents. And
it's okay, Nick. It's harder to navigate through adulthood without someone to look for.
I actually ended up, a lot of the deaths in my family were from health issues. I mean, we had breast cancer, stroke, diabetes, hysterectomies, fibroids, everything. And for me, everyone who died in my family, I saw always on medications, and eventually they would die. So I'm like, medications must not be the way. I didn't see anybody heal from them. And so when I turned 35, I became obsessed with, and that's why I was in Arizona, just looking up how to heal naturally through like whole foods and vitamins. And so that's how my journey into holistic health started. And knowing I was 35 at the time, my mom passed at 41. I was like, what if I have only 6 years left? So that was a part of why I transitioned out of gossip blogging to like, as I got closer to 40, I realized, damn.
It must have been nerve-wracking.
Sorry.
No, Nicole, you're fine. What was going through your mind as you got closer to 40?
That I was living my life as though time was running out, like as though I had an expiration date, and it was 41. And so the pandemic happened in 2020, and I turned 40 that year actually, but it was a very traumatic year for me because I had actually did my initial contract with Will Parker Media to end for the contract to end when I turned 40. I did that on purpose. And so it was all these things I was trying to accomplish before I turned 40, because like 41 symbolized a lot for me. And then the pandemic happened and it kind of threw my everything off schedule. So I remember signing for another 2 years. But yeah, turning 40 with my parents dying at the age of 41 and 42 for me was like every day you feel like, am I gonna die today? And then with me living past the ages that they passed, was very like, it's almost like I woke up one day and I was like, you're still here. And why don't you stop living your life as though it's gonna end and start living your life as though it's just beginning? And so that's kind of how I ventured into My Happy Flo. I knew a lot about hormonal imbalances and its role in breast cancer and its role in fibroids. And with so many women around me, especially Black women, they were under 40, all being diagnosed with fibroids, and their only option was like birth control or hysterectomy. And I knew they deserved better. And it hit home a few times with a few of my friends who had to get hysterectomies that wanted kids. And I was just like, I have to launch this brand. Like, it came to me one day, the idea, the name, everything in one day. What it would do for women, I just knew it was about, I was about to launch something. It was going to be bigger than me. And yeah, I went for it. So that's kind of how it all came about, just during a season where I didn't know what was next for me in my life. I had sold my business. I'm also living my life as though time is running out. And just in the midst of so much turmoil, God gave me this call. And the day that I got the, like, I like to call it the call, but it's the calling to do this, I just knew my life was about to change forever. I just didn't know how.
I want to know the learning steps. What's different between My Happy Flo, Xonecole, going from websites to now supplements, and that learning business model that you had to, because I read recently or saw recently on your post, you had to change a lot of things with My Happy Flo, the business format and the plans of everything. And a woman stepped up and helped save your company. Yeah,
but my thing, first, I jump into these businesses not knowing what I'm signing myself up for.
But it's
and I'm like, baby, we got to do some research next time.
Okay.
Like, even when I went from Necole Bitchie to Xonecole, we jumped into a media company not knowing how to run this thing and how we going to make money. Like, girl, what are you doing?
I think it's important for people to know, though, too. It's like, hey, before you jump ship, make sure you got a raft down that helps
Exactly, because I just be jumping in and figuring it out later. But yeah, like, running a supplements brand, there's so many restrictions in the industry, but also these are thousands of women trusting me with their health. They're injecting something every day. They're taking a pill, a capsule. And just the process of, the first 3 years of my business was hard. Like, I resented my business and loved my business at the same time. Like, I loved what we were doing and how it was going to change people's lives. I resented every aspect of running it. Like, from the first year, I believe we had to switch fulfillment centers, which are the people who ship out your packages. The second year, I had to switch manufacturers. The third year, I had to switch banks. And then we're about to switch suppliers and manufacturers again. All while, as a product-based business, you're almost always running out of money. You're always going to the banks begging for more money. You're accumulating debt. And sometimes it's millions of dollars worth of it. And there's this thing where when you sell your business, everybody is telling you you're selling out, but you know how much sacrifice you put in. You know that's the only way you're going to erase that now 7-figure debt that you've gotten into over the years, buying inventory, trying to pay staff. And so it's so layered. And I think for me, I also, over the last 2 years, I had to grow My Happy Flo while grieving having to leave Xonecole, which was my first baby. It felt like, you have a child and then you hand it to someone else to raise. And you don't know if your child will ever come back and start talking back to you. And so I was trying to process leaving the brand while trying to grow My Happy Flo. And then I also was in a legal situation with a friend that I had started the brand as a partnership, and it just didn't work out, found as a co-founder. And so all these things, I was just like, why is everything so hard right now? And my thing is this, you want to believe that God gave you a calling, but if I'm like, God, if you gave me this calling, why does this feel like I'm getting resistance? Like, you should be moving you should be moving people out the way,
Right.
like
Making it easier for
in
me.
front of me, right? Why is this so hard? And I'm still struggling with that. I know why it's so hard.
Why is it so hard?
Well, without a test, you don't have a testimony. And I just feel like when things come easy for us, we don't value it as much. I know people see My Happy Flo, and when they find out that I'm the founder, they'll think that I'm just the face. There's, people or a big company behind it, running it, and I'm just the face.
Right.
And I built this thing from the ground up.
Right. And you're like, no, that's not the case.
Yeah, like it's been super hard. But I will say, I know I have something special on my hands with this brand. I just need more visibility, but I'm scared to get the visibility because I need more money to get more inventory. So when the visibility comes, you don't be sold out for 8 months and this whole thing. But yeah.
Where do you stand right now with Xonecole? Is there a deal there with Will that maybe you come back and be a part of your brand again? And also, what are you doing to make sure that My Happy Flo keeps on flowing?
With Xonecole, I don't know if, I just feel like I ended Necole Bitchie in my 7th year. I ended Xonecole in my 7th year. And so I got this theme of 7 is the number of completion going. I just feel like going back would be like going back to an ex, and not that, it was an ex that treated me bad. It's just an ex that I'm not supposed, like, we learned what we were supposed to from each other.
Move on.
Yeah, and it's time to move on and let them grow and blossom without me. I would go back to do something special. Like I helped ideate this festival we had here in Atlanta called Elevate Her. If we were to bring that back and make it bigger, I wouldn't mind being involved with that. But to be in the everyday of a media brand, no.
No.
I don't desire it.
How has your profession and your hustle affected your love life?
Honestly,
I remember there was a time where we all was going through real toxic situations. We grew out of them, at least I would hope that we did. I didn't. But, like, do you regret not having kids at this point or not being married yet?
No, absolutely not. First of all, I want to say I got to go back to that. But you be mad at me because I was a friend that when Rocsi was going through something, I sent her flowers, but then her man be mad at her because they're not going to believe I sent her flowers versus another man. Yeah. So I'm causing more trouble.
Yep. That story of my life. I got good friends. I had terrible relationships. Terrible relationships.
No, wait. What was, you asked me something good, but I had
Do
to.
you regret it? Do you regret it?
Do I regret
not being married yet or not having kids?
No, because I want to be fully present for my kids. I want to be the girl with the band rolling up at soccer practices and all the kids getting out the back. And I just knew I couldn't be that person with who I was running all these brands. And then, if I chose who I was going to marry back then, I would have got stuck with some knucklehead because of who I was back then.
We all would have been stuck with the wrong situation. Stuck.
And I mean, honestly, when I see my growth, especially over the last 5 years, not even 10, but 5, and even the type of people I've attracted into my life are of higher quality. They're emotionally intelligent. We, very into, like, we're aligned. If I let them in my space, we're aligned. And I don't date anyone that I don't see being my husband one day or my child's father. Because what am I wasting my time for?
Right. Something we don't have.
Yeah, because then you end up getting stuck with the person.
Exactly.
Because you're messing around and sneaky linking. No, I'm not getting stuck with a sneaky link. So, if I don't see you the qualities I look for in my husband, then I'd rather not date you at all. And so, to your point, do I regret not having kids or not being married yet? No, I wake up every day loving my peace. No disrespect to anybody that don't got peace when they wake up, but peace is a luxury. Peace is expensive. And if it costs me my peace, it's too expensive. But I think sometimes we yearn for stuff, because I did at one point, so much that we don't appreciate the present moment of what we have now and the luxury of it all, the freedom of getting on a plane whenever you want to. You know what I mean? And so right now in this season, because I think it will happen for me quicker than what I think, I'm embracing where I am now. I'm embracing like my single life, because when you get married, a lot of times you're grieve the life you used to have.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people mourning and grieving their life they had prior to husband and kids. And so I just want to take a moment to just sit in this and where I am, because I am very happy with the life I have now. Yeah. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything.
And have not missed out on a lot.
I'm not missing out on a thing. I'm very happy. I'm very at peace. And yeah, so when it does come, but I also know when it does come, what I need to feel supported.
Yeah.
Like for a long time, I was scared to say out loud, I want a nanny when I have a child, because I feel like when you say that, people think you want someone else to take care of your kids. No, I want help with the domestic stuff, the picking up the toys, the cleaning, the cooking, all those things. So I can pop it on a handstand for my husband at night, because he ain't getting nothing if I got to do all the stuff I just said, the laundry list of things. And so I had to sit down and figure out, if I were to bring a child into the world, what would that look like? What would my days look like? And then I also had to create space for it. So the life I live now, I feel like if a husband or kid would come into the picture, I wouldn't be doing a lot of rearranging. Like, there's space for them right now.
Yeah.
Before it wasn't.
That makes so much sense, because when I think about the lifestyle that I have now versus back then, I was like, I didn't have no type of attention span.
None.
No want nor need.
No, I was not emotionally available.
No. Now,
Yeah.
I think I always, I wanted it. But in reality, I'm glad that nothing ever happened where I'm running around as a baby mama right now. It's truthfully, because I always wanted it the traditional way.
Yeah,
it's just the way I was raised.
Yeah.
But when you look at the lifestyles that we had,
it
was challenging. It was challenging to be in relationships with the type of jobs and the people that you surround yourself with and who's around.
I feel like entertainment industry relationships are weird, and I'm like, just randomly, they just got back together, Nelly and Ashanti. But I remember him saying at one point when people were like, y'all been together 10 years. And he's like, our 10 years isn't like normal people 10 years. Like normal people see each other every day. He said, when you're an entertainer, one person might be on tour, another person on tour. So it's not the same 10 years.
Yeah.
And I find that to be true now that, I date ordinary people. And I'm like, oh, y'all have real relationships. Like, this is real intimacy. This ain't no cute, we talking or we dated because we texting a little bit and we seen each other in one city or another that we crossed paths.
Yeah.
Like, no, this is real dating.
Yeah, totally different.
Yeah.
Dating outside of the industry is different, but then people get stuck dating inside the industry because you know that you're comfortable enough. That person understands your schedule, understands your lifestyle. At least you would think they would, until egos start getting involved and stuff like that. And then you get hit with that situation.
If I was the whole time, I'd be like, tell me more.
Don't miss it. There's nothing to miss right there. So I feel you on that. Well, I know we're running out of time. I wanted to get into our heydays, but I think I'm gonna have to save this one for a part 2. But before you go, I'm gonna do a rapid fire round of questions for you. You can answer in one word or several, however you want to. But for you, Necole, one thing you hate. Nothing?
I guess I won't say I hate, but I dislike what they call them bro podcasts. And like, there's a difference because there are the bro podcasts and they're elevating young men and they're having real I think they're called nice and neat podcasts. I love those. But the ones that are super toxic and cause these gender wars amongst men and women, I cannot.
Okay. I'm gonna leave it right there. Worst city to date in?
I know people want me to say Atlanta, baby. My dating life in Atlanta been amazing. Okay, and I've lived in quite a few cities.
Yeah, I've
lived in many cities
for myself too.
My dating life in Atlanta, I feel was the best out of all cities that I've dated in. But I date differently than I used to too. Worst city, LA. Worst city for a Black woman. How about that?
Okay. I would say LA in general.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
I had to import from New York to get him to move to LA.
It's every friend that lives in LA is just like,
it's terrible.
It's terrible.
It's terrible. You don't know anybody's agenda.
Yeah.
What they're after. And even then, when you're in a relationship, you got to worry about them leaving you for something, which happened, but still. Okay.
Do we agree though? What do you think?
I think LA is very, very challenging to date in. Yeah. I think New York is different, but I cannot base my dating life in New York when I was in New York because I was still doing, I was in a long distance relationship.
I'm just now getting experience dating for real.
Yeah. I've always only been in long distance relationships. And then the one that became my 9-year situation, you know, it was long distance and then became us living together. And that was really different for me too. So,
I mean, how did that work out? That's another podcast.
Well, favorite food?
I don't know. I'm really loving Persian food right now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Something that makes you cry.
Everything. Being on podcasts, talking about my family. Yeah. Talking about my old websites, all of that. My old life.
Red flag when dating.
Red flag when dating. I just think if someone asks someone on a first date, they should cover the first date. Like the whole arguing over who, like you asked
Why
me.
Is there an argument? First of all, where's the chivalry? This is the South.
Yeah, so.
You shouldn't be paying
so
anyway.
That just doesn't make any sense. I've never had to worry about or dated men that would even be a question. But the fact that it's even a thing, who pays on a first date, is like, it just blows my mind. I don't know.
Yeah. Girl, that would be a red flag for me too.
I mean, I guess anybody that's talking negatively about their ex is a red flag to me.
Oh, we can't date Necole.
Yeah, that's a red flag.
Yeah, but yeah. I'm gonna talk about him. No.
You're so
nothing
silly.
Nice, but great things to say. Heels or sneakers?
Sneakers.
Really?
Yeah, I was just thinking, there's a sneaker hill out now. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, sneakers.
Smartest thing you've ever done?
Smartest? Man, every time I left my old businesses, I felt I left them at the right moment before an industry shift or something like that. Like just knowing the timing of when to get off the boat. That's the smartest thing I've ever done. And now the not so smartest, you want to hear that?
Sure. Go
Can
for
we
it.
talk about the IRS? But the not so smart thing I've ever done is just starting a business, not even knowing what it entailed. The only reason why I had my first LLC is I went to the bank and the guy was like, "You need a business," and he registered a business there for me, my EIN, and then gave me a business bank account. If it weren't for him, I probably wouldn't have registered a business for years. But I also didn't know anything about, taxes, write-offs, all of that stuff. And so now it's 10 years later and I'm dealing with tax bills from our old life. That's two businesses ago. You know what I mean? So I think that's the not so smart, but I know I'm not the only one either because no one knew.
Yeah.
We were all out here just spending for ourselves in business and figuring it out later.
Yeah, I agree. I was just having this conversation earlier. And I was like, this generation is way business smarter savvy than we were.
Yeah, they're having way more conversations.
Yeah.
They have the language. You got podcasts like Earn Your Leisure, which is teaching them the language and what to do. And we didn't have any of that online.
Yeah.
That's all we had was gossip blogs.
Yeah. And that's all we cared about.
That's all we had.
Knowing what the tea was it.
Yeah.
That was it. Wow, Nick. Could keep going and going, but I'm running out of time. But I thank you so much. We're going to have to get into part 2 when we talk about how we had a con artist in our crew and the dating and the parties. Yes, I introduced us to a con artist.
Because she's such a nice person, want to be friends with everybody.
Okay, we'll get into this real quick. Yeah. Long story short, this is what had happened. I was going through a horrible breakup at the time. Chantel, my best friend, moves back to Miami. I'm by myself in Jersey, and I made a friend on Twitter.
On Twitter, Rocsi?
That's what mattered.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
And she worked her way all through our crew. I mean, I got flued out one time, and she was cooking for the person that flew me out.
Damn. Well, at least she was cooking because she didn't cook around me.
Hey, you put her on. I mean, well, she didn't cook. She didn't cook at all. So, but yeah. So you know what that taught me? We had a con artist in our crew. She completely faked her entire life.
Whole identity.
I mean, and was stealing from us, credit cards, being missing shoes, clothes, etc. But it taught me how bad and what lengths some people would go just to be famous, be around famous people, be around money. And I think it's so many more of her in the world.
Like, what was the Netflix?
Tindler Swindler.
I was gonna say Inventing Anna.
Oh yeah.
I was like, we done had one of those way back in our days that infiltrated our crew.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And yeah, it was my fault. I met the girl, and it was weird how you can be in the industry where you know so many people but feel so lonely,
and still befriend someone outside that don't have a reference check or anything. So you were
Juggy, my best friend, my brother Juggy in New Orleans, he vetted her for me.
How?
Honey,
if it was me, but
well,
if
you
it was
were different.
Today me,
you were different.
No, because I would have had, all I need is your phone number and I'll pull your whole background check while we in a restaurant.
First of all, but that didn't happen when we first met her because you befriended her too, and everybody was kumbaya with her, and next thing you know, she stole a whole bunch of shit.
But you were her reference check.
You
came to me and said, this is my homegirl. She from New Orleans. She's a chef. She got a book coming out. She got a TV show coming out. But it didn't sound
far-fetched at the time. It didn't sound far-fetched. In our industry,
we never heard of this girl.
In our industry, it doesn't sound, but we also weren't part of the Food Network. We also weren't like hanging out with chefs and stuff like that. We could have been Googling back
then. The hell?
And we didn't. And
no, I cracked the craze.
You could have. You could have known way before anybody got hurt. So it's clearly your fault.
Anybody got hurt.
I'm deflecting.
And look, just know that this scammer story, she ended up in jail.
Then she jumped bail, and now she married, and probably on another false identity.
Living a whole
nother life.
A whole new life.
We're going to tell the story.
If we single, sitting here on this couch.
Right, and she got a kid.
I can't.
Like, it's...
Look how the tables turn, honey. I can't.
That story will be told for another time. I'm going to leave everybody with a cliffhanger, but you can do your research and get in the dark web and find out who that person was. It's not even that hard to even find out who that was.
Crazy.
We'll save that for part 2. Thank you so much, Necole.